Part 69. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 681. How could anyone find me? This was a question that popped into Xiaoping'an's mind when he was quickly escaping underground. The person chasing him was biting him more than 50 miles behind him, and his goal was very clear. That person also used the same pure earth escape technique, and his earth escape skills were even slightly better than his own. Judging from the aura, that person is most likely a strong man in the 9 Yang realm. Ordinary 7 Sun realm summoners would not be stronger than themselves even if they use earth escape technique, and would even be weaker than themselves. Because they have the blessing of the toe bones of the divine body refined in their bodies, the ability of earth escape technique is already stronger than that of themselves. Normal summoners are stronger. For summoners who master the earth escape technique, they are very sensitive to the movement coming from the underground when using the earth escape technique. This is a bit like the situation of whales in the sea. Whales in the sea can contact and locate their companions through sound waves. And when the summoner who masters the earth escape technique uses the earth escape technique, he is also extremely sensitive to the fluctuations coming from the ground with a radius of hundreds of miles around, and can clearly feel the movements of other people using the earth escape technique underground. Condition. This is why Xiaoping'an knew that someone was chasing him. It should be the Hu family. But it is impossible for the Hu family to lock their whereabouts through divination. If their whereabouts were so easily divined, then they would have been crushed to dust by the blood demon cult, Xiu Motion, and others, and it would be impossible for them to survive until now. So, there must be other reasons. Xiaoping'an was thinking quickly in his head, and a flash of light suddenly flashed in Xiaoping'an's head. Those things I got from the old man of the Hu family, by the way, Xianmi Lu, those things should belong to the Hu family, and they have a deep cause and effect with the Hu family. If the Hu family divines the location of Xianmi Lu, maybe you can find yourself indirectly. Seeing that the fluctuations of the earth escape technique behind him were getting closer and closer, within a moment, they were already approaching within 40 miles, and were still approaching. Xiaoping'an felt the surrounding underground environment, and when he turned around, he suddenly rushing towards the underground. After rushing thousands of meters underground, a turbulent underground river hundreds of meters wide appeared in front of Xiaoping'an. Xiaoping'an suddenly emerged from the gap in the underground river. Without thinking, he threw everything he got from the old man from the Hu family, including Xianmi Lu, into the underground. In the river, the golden mysterious record just rolled a little in the waves of the underground river, and then disappeared in an instant. After throwing away the mysterious record, Xiaoping'an's figure continued to drill into the rock and soil, rushing towards the ground. A few minutes later, Xiaoping'an's figure flew out from a mountainous area full of dense forests. After quickly picking a leaf, Xiaoping'an used the secret method of blinding one leaf to hide all his aura and possess him. On a big tree in the mountains, he also released the illusion of beacon fire to play with the princes, and summoned a crane. The crane carried his illusion and flew quickly towards the distance, and penetrated into the clouds in the blink of an eye. Middle. Xiaoping'an had just hidden his figure for less than 3 minutes when a figure emerged from the ground nearby and suddenly flew into the air. The man who emerged from the ground was an old man wearing a black robe, with eyebrows as thick as daggers. He had an evil look on his face and a strand of white hair in the middle of his forehead, which was particularly eye-catching. As soon as the old man flew into the air, he looked around with a pair of flashing eyes, and with a wave of his hand, butterflies all over the sky were summoned, like a colorful cloud. Those colorful butterflies, at least tens of thousands of them, were flying everywhere, all over the sky. Mountains. Several butterflies flew to the place where Xiaoping'an was hiding with a blinding secret. Xiaoping'an suddenly became nervous and was ready to escape underground again. But fortunately, those butterflies did not find Xiaoping'an and left Xiaoping'an. Flying over, and more butterflies gathered in the sky, danced gracefully, and flew towards the direction where Xiaopinggan had just summoned the crane to carry the illusion figure. "Junior, I guess you have some skills, let's see where you run away." The old man in the sky roared angrily, and with a wave of his sleeves, all the butterflies were taken back by him, and then his whole body turned into a first-class fire, slithering through the air. Chiliu flashed and flew directly towards the place where the crane summoned by Xiaopinggan disappeared. Watching the old man disappear, Xiaopinggan quietly escaped from the state of blindness. He slid down from the tree silently and slowly escaped into the ground. He didn't run far, just slowly escaped 100 meters underground. Then he continued to use the blinding technique to hide his figure. A few minutes later, the sky in the distance suddenly closed with dark clouds, and a series of wild thunder flashed through, which seemed earth-shattering. The rumbling thunder god came from the distance. Even Xiaopinggan, who was underground, felt the thunder coming from the sky. Tremor. But the wild thunder and vibrations in the sky disappeared in the blink of an eye. After a while, the old man with thick eyebrows had flown back from a distance and was standing in the sky over the mountains, his face dark. Looking at the mountains below, he was furious. With a wave of his hand, meteorites rained down from the sky one by one. All the trees and grass on the mountains and mountains within a radius of several miles were blown to pieces, and the flames were blazing, just like the Flame Mountain. The old man was not relieved and kept summoning fire rain meteorites to bombard the surrounding mountain ground. In just a few minutes, he plowed hundreds of square kilometers of ground around him. While bombarding the ground, the old man used earth escape techniques to escape from time to time. Go underground and check what's going on underground to see if anyone has used earth escape to escape from the ground. However, there was silence in the underground rock and soil layer, without any fluctuations in the earth escape technique. Xiaopinggan was underground. He could feel the movement above his head, but fortunately, the movement above and the destructive power of the spell could not affect him, who was hiding deep underground. He waited patiently. If he is still hiding in the tree at this moment, he will most likely be exposed by such a carpet-like magic attack. If he was busy using the earth escape technique to escape from the ground just now, he will probably be exposed by that person in such a short period of time. The old man sensed the lock again, but like now, he was underground, using a blinding technique to hide his aura, and remained motionless, so the old man couldn't find him. All the old man's methods were within Xiaopinggan's expectations. Still nothing was found, and then the old man flew down from the air and used the earth escape technique to escape underground again. After struggling for more than 10 minutes, the old man finally let out an unwilling, angry, and disappointed roar in the sky. A large group of people have flown over from a distance. There are almost hundreds of people in Wanjiang, there are 70 or 80 people in 6 Yang realm, more than 10 people in 7 Yang realm, and even several people in 8 Yang realm. All of them are wearing dark red armor. He was full of murderous intent. Elder Gu, have you found any traces of that person? Hu Sheng, who was also wearing a battle armor, was among those people and asked as soon as he arrived. That man is very cunning, and he has already escaped. The old man said. Escaped? Hu Sheng looked disappointed and a little scared. He didn't expect that Mei Zheng could escape at this time. The one who is chasing Mei Zheng now is the demigod of the Hu family. Next, a strong man in the 9 Sun realm. That man is too cunning and extremely powerful. He is extremely accomplished in magic. He has already thrown all the mysterious records and other items taken from him into the underground river. My divination technique can no longer pinpoint his whereabouts. The secret magic he just cast is 1 level higher than the illusions cast by ordinary summoners, and he almost deceived me. Elder Gu, who was chasing Xiaopinggan, looked around, looking at the boundless mountains around him, and his heart was filled with excitement. Frustrated. If Mei Zheng can be captured this time, regardless of whether Mei Zheng can survive in the end, the Hu family can actually justifiably obey Mei Zheng and squeeze out the secret method of combining magic and martial arts of the mad god lineage. As compensation for the Mei Zheng plundering the Hu family's Xianmi Lu, the Hu family has actually been coveting the mad god's divine way of combining magic and martial arts for a long time, and it is rare to have such an opportunity. It's a pity that Mei Zheng actually ran away just now and lost the mysterious record on his body. Now I'm afraid it won't be so easy to catch that person again. The Hu family members discussed in the sky for a while, and finally decided to split into two groups. One group went to Xuanji City, while the other group continued to search in the wild. Then, the Hu family members dispersed. Xiaopinggan was still underground, motionless, like hibernating. Although the Hu family on the ground seemed to have left, the warning signs were always there in his heart. He felt that this matter was not over yet. If he had to jump out or use Earth escape to escape, he might fall into a local trap. Sure enough, 7 days later, several figures appeared in the sky again. Elder Gu's gloomy face appeared over the mountains again. Elder Gu waved his hand again, and another rain of fire and meteorites fell from the sky, plowing the surrounding ground again. Still the same as last time, Elder Gu used magic to plow the ground, and at the same time escaped underground to explore the underground situation from time to time. There was no movement on the ground, and there was no movement underground. Looking at the devastated ground, Elder Gu finally sighed in the sky after venting his anger. He felt the feeling of frustration again. Elder Gu had previously suspected that the person had not left, but now, he also began to waver. Elder, that person must have really left here. We have set up a dragnet around the area these days, but we have never found that person. A master from the Hu family's 8 Sun realm said next to him. These days, these masters of the Hu family are actually lying in ambush nearby, no matter where they are in the sky or on the ground, they have opened a big net, waiting for people to jump out or escape from the ground again. But these days, there has been no movement within hundreds of miles around here. Except for a passing 6 Sun realm summoner, the Hu family has not caught a single hair. That person must have left. Elder Gu finally shook his head, waved his hand, and left with the person. After another day, when the warning signs in his heart completely disappeared, Xiaopinggan finally emerged from the ground. Xiaopinggan looked at the direction of Xuanji City, thought for a while, and directly used the secret method of transformation to change his appearance, and then flew towards Xuanji City in a swagger. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 682. 2 days later, Xiaopinggan arrived at Xuanji City without any hindrance. Xuanji City was no smaller than Longjiao City and was also a big city in the world of god-killing insects. Along the way, Xiaopinggan met 2 masters from the Hu family. The Hu family arranged many masters outside Xuanji City to intercept him. However, when those people flew over, they used a face mirror to look at Xiaopinggan, and found that there was something in the face mirror. The image did not change and flew away. During both interceptions, masters from the Hu family's 8 Sun realm came over in groups with masters from the 7 Sun realm and 6 Yang realm. As for the Hu family elder who was chasing him before, Xiaopinggan saw no trace of that person. According to Xiaopinggan's estimate, that person might be somewhere underground in Xuanji City. Once he came in through the earth escape technique, it's about to hit that person's hand again. Xiaopinggan looked at it and sneered secretly. The Hu family was so solemn outside Xuanji City because they were afraid that if he entered Xuanji City, he would get out of control. If he had been plotted or even killed by the Hu family in the uninhabited wilderness, he would probably have been killed. No one knows, but in Xuanji City, the situation is different. It depends on whether the Hu family has the courage to do bad things secretly and openly. They are not the same thing. The impact and consequences are different. This Xuanji City, it's not the Hu family's turn to be the dominant one. Xulongzi once said before that many divine families have branch strongholds in big cities like Xuanji City. There will be family masters and elders sitting in charge. The other branch strongholds of these families are responsible for these. Collect intelligence and various resources locally and expand contacts. After passing through the Hu family's obstruction on the outside, Xiaoping'an landed on a street in Xuanji City and stopped a summoner from the Sixth Sun Realm who was wandering on the street. "You don't know what's going on, senior." The summoner was in his 40s, with two slightly funny beards on his mouth. He looked a bit greasy and Philistine. Originally, he was a little angry when someone dropped from the sky to stop him. But as soon as he felt the breath of Xiaoping'an, a smile immediately appeared on his face. Xiaoping'an moved his hand and took out a networld bead and stuffed it directly into the man's hand. "I just came to Xuanji City and am not familiar with the situation in the city. I want to ask you. I heard that there are people in Xuanji City, the resident branches of many divine families." "Senior, you are asking the right person. I have been in Xuanji City for many years, and there is no place in the city that I am not familiar with." "I don't know what senior wants to ask about." The man looked at the hand in his hand. "Boundary pearl." His eyes suddenly burst into laughter. Although the boundary pearl in his hand is an ordinary boundary pearl, no matter how ordinary it is worth at least 1 or 2,000 gold coins. These masters of the Seven Sun Realm are so generous. That person was extremely happy. "I wonder if the senior wants to inquire about the situation of the god descendant family." "Well, tell me everything you know." "The branch of the Di family, which was in the spotlight some time ago, is located in the Digia Fort in the south of the city. The branch of the Yang family is more than 10 miles southeast of the Digia Fort. It is also a big blue castle with a river next to it. You can see the Shalong family from a distance." The man became interested and began to introduce Xiaoping'an in detail. As if he didn't think it was enough, he also took out a map and showed Xiaoping'an the resident branches of each divine family on the map. Marked out. As soon as Xiaoping'an heard this, he already had the general situation of the various divine family branches in Xuanji City in his mind, and he already had a map in his mind. "By the way, I heard that the events in 10,000 Demon Ridge in the past few days have attracted many sects and big families to send experts to Xuanji City. Are there any powerful figures from these divine families coming?" Xiaoping'an said patiently and cheerfully. Asked again. "Why not? There are too many. In the past few days, Xuanji City has been much busier than before. It's really quiet everywhere, and there are as many transformations as dogs." "Ahem, I'm sorry, senior, I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about there are many masters coming to the city these days." The man shrank his neck and smiled slightly awkwardly, for fear that Xiaoping'an would be angry. "It doesn't matter. I see that there are quite a few netherworlds in the city now. It's not surprising." Seeing that Xiaoping'an was not angry, the man became bolder again, and quickly introduced to Xiaoping'an the masters and experts who had come to the city in recent days. When Xiaoping'an heard that a 9-sun realm elder from the Di family named Di Shushan also came to Xuanji City to take charge the day before yesterday, Xiaoping'an smiled. It would be easy to deal with the 9-sun realm elders from the Di family. "Thank you." Xiaoping'an said thank you sincerely. This information is very timely for him now, and he can get it with a boundary bead. "Senior, my name is Luo Kong and I live in Jubase Han. If you need help, you can come to me at any time," the man said fawningly. "Forget it, I won't embarrass you anymore. You'd better forget about meeting me. I won't tell anyone else." Xiaoping'an smiled and patted the man on the shoulder. "Forgot, why?" The man was stunned for a moment. "Well, you'll know soon," Xiaoping'an said, already rising into the sky and flying towards the northwest of Xuanji City. The man put away the networld bead in his hand. After seeing Xiaoping'an leave, he thought about it on the spot. Seeing that Xiaopingan had flown several miles away, he was a little curious and couldn't help but fly into the sky too. I want to see what Xiaopingan is doing. Before flying more than 10 miles, the man saw Xiaopingan in the sky and didn't even turn. Like an arrow, he flew straight towards the Hu family fort in Xuanji City. The back looked full of anger. The man thought of something and his face changed. I'm not going to seek revenge from the Hu family. Who dares to seek revenge from the goddess family, the man said to himself. In one sentence, his heart trembled at the thought of that person coming to seek revenge on the Hu family, but when he thought about it, it seemed impossible. Is that person tired of living? A summoner from the nether realm actually dared to seek revenge from the goddess family in Xuanji City. Xiaopingan was in the sky, speeding up unknowingly, because there was no one around him. His face changed for a while, and it had once again transformed into Mei Zheng's ruthless look with a horse face and triangular eyes. Hujiabao soon appeared in front of him. The Hujia fort is very large, covering an area of almost 1 square kilometer. Behind the white fort wall that is tens of meters high, there are various fortresses and high platforms. It looks quite gorgeous. There is also a majestic tower in the fort, which is almost more than 300 meters high. The flag of the Hu family is flying on the tower, and there is a Chinese character Hu on the flag. In Xuanji City, because the Hu family's fortress is white, Xuanji City calls the Hu family's residence White Fort, which is very conspicuous. How can others be allowed to snore next to the so-called couch? Within a radius of dozens of kilometers of the residence of these divine descendant families, other families or small sects generally do not dare to come and squeeze in. Therefore, the surroundings of the White Castle are bare, except for there are no natural trees or rivers, and no other families or sects exist. Xiaopingan's speed was accelerating, and a will seal was quickly formed on his hand. Xiaopingan raised his hands like a tower, and fell straight down in the blink of an eye. The terrifying and turbulent power of the 5 elements surged above Xiaopingan's head like a mountain. A giant will with a diameter of several hundred meters condensed with the power of the 5 elements was condensed. Xiaopingan's speed is getting faster and faster. The giant will is slowly turning in Xiaopingan's hands, getting bigger and bigger. In just a few breaths, there is a feeling of change of scenery, which almost changes the entire sky of Xuanji City. Colorful brilliance emanated from the 5-element will in Xiaopingan's hand, surging like the sea. At the same time, countless masters in Xuanji City had felt the existence of this terrifying power of the 5 elements, and were suddenly alarmed. At this time, Xiaopingan had already flown to the sky above the White Castle, with a pair of triangular eyes radiating cold light and evil aura. Xiaopingan's cold voice was filled with evil aura, shaking the entire Xuanji City. Hu family, I, Mei Zheng, am here. Don't you want to kill me? Come on. At the same time that Xiaopingan spoke, the giant will with the power of the 5 elements condensed in his hand descended from the sky like Mount Tai, and slammed down on the Hu family's white fort. The giant will condensed with the power of the 5 elements in Xiaopingan's hand was so terrifying. When it hit it, it was really like a landslide. The tower body of the high tower in the White Castle instantly turned into powder, before the Hu family members in the castle could react. Come here, the giant will is already approaching. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 683. Rumble. A strong shock spread like ripples from the Hu family's White Castle, shaking the entire Xuanji City. The entire Xuanji City could feel the terrifying movement coming from the underground. Countless summoners in Xuanji City were alarmed. One of them flew into the sky and looked towards where the Hu family fort was. Some summoners and masters had just heard Xiaopingan's voice spread throughout the city, and they flew towards here all of a sudden. Xiaoping'an's attack can break mountains and drain rivers, let alone a small Hujiapu. All the buildings in the Hujiapu were completely shattered by the force like a landslide in an instant, and were almost razed to the ground at once. The power of fire from the power of the five elements suddenly turned the ground where Hujiabayo was located into a piece of magma. The sharp edge of the power of gold cut through all the objects on the ground of Hujiabayo, and the surging power of water penetrated into Hujiabayo pervasively. Everywhere, under the fire and ice, all the buildings and rock houses were shattered at once, and then the power of earth came as heavy as a landslide. Ah! A scream rose in the Hu family fort. The more than 20 Hu family summoners who were still in the Hu family fort just felt something was wrong. Some were preparing to fly, and some had just released spells such as protective water shields, but their bodies and shields had already been destroyed by Xia Ping'an's five-element giant will exploded into pieces, instantly killing him, and clouds of blood mist erupted from the Hu family fort. They were all killed by Xia Ping'an's blow without even the ability to resist. The Hu family fort was originally the residence of the Hu family in Xuanji city. It was originally guarded by experts and its strength would not be so weak. However, these days, the summoners in the Hu family fort have been deployed to intercept and hunt those who may enter Xuanji city. Xia Ping'an, so the power of Hujiabayo suddenly became empty. There are only more than 20 summoners stationed here, and most of them are summoners who have just advanced to the 6 Yang realm. Such strength is naturally unstoppable. A blow from Xia Ping'an's five elements fist. Xia Ping'an's raid on Hujiapu was to avoid the truth and attack the fictitious. He has mastered the secrets of military tactics. Don't you want to intercept and hunt me? I will come directly to your lair. With one blow, all the white buildings in Hujiabayo disappeared from the ground, flames rolled on the ground, and only two awkward figures rose from the ground to the sky. One of the two people rising into the sky was Mr. Hu Sheng. At this moment, Mr. Hu had a grey face, most of his gorgeous robe was burnt, and his hair was a little scattered. Another person who flew out of the Hu family fort was also a summoner of the Seven Sun realm. He was probably in his 30s, with blood bleeding from the corner of his mouth and multiple injuries on his body. Even when he flew into the sky, he looked shocked and unbelievable. There are still people in Xuanji city who dare to raid and destroy the Hu family fort in broad daylight and start a war with the Hu family. This is completely beyond the expectations of everyone in the Hu family. The Hu family, like many divine descendant families, relies on its great business and strength, and no one dares to mess with it. Therefore, the branch fortresses in these cities are not protected by arrays. Usually, only some family members and guards are stationed there. Not afraid of anyone, I didn't expect that Hujiabayo would be destroyed today. As soon as Hu Sheng flew into the sky, he saw Xia Ping'an's horse face and triangular eyes looking at him coldly. Hu Sheng was angry and frightened, his handsome face was completely distorted, and he almost vomited blood. It's you. Master Hu, we meet again. I didn't expect that we could meet here again. You sent the masters of the Hu family to rob me and kill me. You asked the elders of the Hu family to chase and kill me outside Xuanji city. I didn't expect that I, Mei Zheng, would be able to enter Xuanji city alive to come and settle accounts with your Hu family. At this moment, Xia Ping'an was so calm that Hu Sheng even had some palpitations. I just saved Shulong in 10,000 Demon Ridge. It's just 11. It's surprising that just such a small thing can make you murderous and want to eradicate me. Do you, the Hu family, really think you can cover the sky with one hand? You are so narrow-minded, vicious, and arrogant. If the Shulong family choosing you as my son-in-law would make the Shulong family blind. Hu Sheng glanced at the sky around him. In just a few breaths, the entire Xuanji city had been alarmed. Countless people were flying in the sky. Many masters and strong men were already flying towards here. In the sky above Xuanji city, here for a moment, everything was filled with the figure of the summoner flying and gathering in the air and the fluctuation of divine power coming from the air. Xiaoping's voice came out with divine power, booming in the sky, and almost everyone in Xuanji City heard it. What? Hu Sheng from the Hu family actually got into trouble with little crazy god, and even sent people to intercept and kill little crazy god? To be honest, those in Xuanji City who heard this were shocked and felt like they had eaten a huge melon. The movements of the Hu family in Xuanji City these days are a bit strange. Countless Hu family masters and strongmen swarmed in and made many moves outside Xuanji City. These things were seen by the divine family and masters in Xuanji City. Everyone before I don't know why the Hu family did this. Now after hearing Xiaoping's words, everyone suddenly reacted. Shut up, Hu Sheng's eyes were bloodshot and he shouted angrily, Mei Zheng, what are you talking about? Today you destroyed my Hu family fort and killed many of my Hu family's descendants. My Hu family is incompatible with you. Even if you are crazy after God, the Hu family will also crush you to ashes and cut your body into thousands of pieces. Then let's see if your Hu family has this ability, Xiaoping sneered. You are a little summoner of the nether realm. So what if you are the son of God? Do you really think that the Hu family can't do anything to you? Xiaoping laughed wildly, and the sound shocked everyone. It doesn't matter if you are in the nether realm, or if you are in the realm of light, even if I am in the soul-building realm, even if I am an ordinary man, I dare to fight to the death with your Hu family, because I believe that the justice of the world is in the hearts of the people. So what if you, the Hu family, have the ability to cut me into pieces? If you, the Hu family, destroy me in this life, I will destroy your Hu family in the next life. I will fight with your Hu family to the end. I really think you can trample on the world. To be fair, do you really think you are not afraid of people coming to your door if you do bad things? I don't believe in this evil. When Xiaoping's words were heard by the summoners in the sky around him, everyone was shocked. He was indeed a little mad god. He was so heroic that he actually wanted to challenge the entire Hu family by himself. Then you have to wait until you are alive to say this. I leave it to God whether I live or not, but I want to see whether you live or not, Xiaoping said, no longer talking nonsense. Golden lotus blossoms bloomed under his feet, his whole body flashed, and he rushed towards Hu Sheng, his hands tied he cast a fearless seal, and the power of the five elements fist exploded again. His whole body was filled with awe and fearlessness. A powerful and terrifying aura appeared on Xiaoping. Xiaoping punched Hu Sheng and the Qi Yang beside him. The summoner in the realm blasted over. When the summoner of the Hu family saw Xiaoping punching him, he didn't even think about it. With a wave of his hand, a fire dragon, a looming assassin, and bats flying all over the sky swept towards Xiaoping. Countless layers of water shields suddenly appeared on the summoner's body, and a huge magical shield appeared on the summoner's hand to protect his body. Hu Sheng's expression also changed. With a wave of his hand, a green mountain peak appeared in the sky and hooded Xiaoping. However, he himself summoned a shield to protect his body and wanted to move towards Xiaoping. Rushing outside Xuanji City, the masters and strong men of the Hu family were all outside Xuanji City. Seeing Xiaoping, who was like an angry lion, Hu Sheng had actually been frightened for a long time. He was not the divine son of the Hu family, and his cultivation was in the Seven Sons realm. He was only above average in the division. Facing Xiaoping, even though there was a summoner of the Hu family's Seven Sun realm beside him at the moment, Hu Sheng was trembling in his heart. The summoner of the Seven Suns realm was not weak originally, but he was not good enough in front of Xiaoping, who was also in the Seven Suns realm, let alone able to withstand Xiaoping's five elements fist. The reason why the top 10 divine sons are the top 10 is because the divine sons themselves are extremely talented, and the top 10 divine sons are the best among them. The frightened summoner of the Seven Sun realm, this punch is a life-threatening talisman. Boom! The summons all over the sky dissipated under Xiaoping's fist. The summoner's protective spell and the magic weapon shield in his hand also did not block Xiaoping's punch. Water shield shattered. The magic weapon shield is twisted and shattered. The hands of the summoner holding the shield were all shattered. Under the power of Xiaoping's five elements fist, the shattered shield was like countless shrapnel, passing back, piercing and cutting countless bloody holes all over the body of the Seven Sun Realm summoner. The power of five elements fist comes later. The summoner's body was directly punched by Xiaoping in full view of the public, and turned into thousands of dust in the sky, scattering in all directions. As for Hu Sheng, he was also extremely miserable. With one punch, Hu Sheng, who was trying to escape, felt as if he was hit by a giant hammer from the sky. Amidst a terrifying sound of bone shattering, he screamed in agony. Was smashed to the ground. There was a horrifying roar in the distance that shook the sky, and a flash of fire appeared on the horizon. Elder Gu of the Hu family was already rushing towards here. Golden Summoner. Author, Zy Hu. Chapter 684. Xiaoping also noticed the fluctuations coming from the distance and the flash of fire from the horizon. He knew that the masters of the Hu family had discovered the situation in Xuanji city and were rushing over. That Elder Gu should be near Xuanji city. There was such a big movement here that the Hu family fort was destroyed by him. Coupled with the disturbance caused by the power of the five elements condensed by his five elements fist, as a summoner of the Nine Sun realm, if Elder Gu didn't know that something happened in Xuanji city, he would be too slow. Hu Sheng vomited blood and was seriously injured. He fell to the ground and made a big hole in the ground. When he heard the fluctuations from the horizon, Hu Sheng was like a drowning man grabbing a piece of driftwood. He moved his hand, took out a handful of pills, stuffed them into his mouth without thinking, and drank the pills. In an instant, the injuries all over his body began to recover rapidly, and the broken bones were crackling and reuniting. Let's see how you die. Hu Sheng glared at Xiaoping in the sky sternly, screamed wildly, spit out a mouthful of blood, waved his hand, and a dense shadow of a mandala appeared behind him. The battle formation soldiers appeared next to him. Those summoned objects, those that could not fly, all formed a battle formation on the ground and were connected into one body, guarding Hu Sheng in it. The ones that could fly all rushed towards Xiaoping. Come over. The summons in Hu Sheng's secret mandala almost came out in full force. There were tens of thousands of warriors on the ground, and there were thousands of various summons flying in the sky, including various birds. Monsters, roaring dragons and roaring tigers, fire-breathing ones, wind-breathing ones, almost everything you want. He had made a desperate move. Not only that, while summoning almost all the combat power of his secret mandala, Hu Sheng gritted his teeth, took out a formation disc, threw it to the ground, and a golden brilliance shot up into the sky. The formation disc showed a 7-story pagoda was formed, directly covering Hu Sheng in it, and he was suddenly protected. Vajra Serial Protective Pagoda Array. I didn't expect Hu Sheng to be carrying such a life-saving gadget. Nonsense, that's a child of the goddess family. Who doesn't have anything to protect his life? I heard that even a strong man in the Nine Sun realm cannot completely destroy the Vajra chain protection pagoda formation. It's difficult to break the formation. Plus, the masters of the Hu family seem to be coming, and the little mad god is in danger. Until this time, the surrounding sky was full of people watching the excitement. Everyone was talking about it. Some people were shocked by Xiaoping's methods before. But this kind of conflict involving two divine descendant families, ordinary people, I just watched the excitement from the side and didn't dare to interfere at all. Dark clouds suddenly rose on the ground, and a dark summoning object flew towards Xiaoping, startling many people around him. However, before those ferocious faces in the sky rushed towards Xiaoping's body flashed with brilliance, and the people around him suddenly exclaimed, "The Monument of Tears! The Monument of Falling Tears, the little mad god actually summoned the monument of falling tears. I saw a huge and solemn black stone tablet appearing behind Xiaopinggan. Seeing the black stone tablet, countless summoners onlookers exclaimed. This spell is the nemesis of almost all summoning spells. As soon as the teardrop stele appeared, it's useless no matter how powerful you can summon. The Tears Monument can disarm all the opponent's summoning spells. Especially in this one-on-one contest, the power of the Tears Monument is even more powerful. Revealed. The Tablet of Tears is one of the summoning spells that all summoners fear most and are most eager to master. There are only a few summoners who can master this summoning spell. As soon as the Weeping Monument came out, the light and shadow of Yang Hu and Yang Gong appeared on the Weeping Monument. Yang Hu looked around with compassionate and kind eyes, just like a loving father seeing his young son, and bowed to the surroundings. In an instant, the surrounding situation changed, and the situation was reversed instantly. No matter in the sky or on the ground, all the things summoned by Hu Sheng, when they saw Yang Hu, their eyes shed tears, their fighting spirit disappeared, they bowed their heads and saluted, and then flew aside. The formation plate where Hu Sheng was hiding, which had been surrounded by numerous soldiers and warriors on the ground, was suddenly revealed. Xiaopingyan didn't say a word, but with a flash of his body, under everyone's comments, he suddenly fell into Hu Sheng's Vajra chain protection pagoda formation. The little mad god actually dared to enter the Vajra chain protection pagoda formation. What a tragedy! Wouldn't he be trapped to death by that formation? Ordinary people entering the diamond continuous protective pagoda array can't find the exit. Although the little mad god is crazy and has a bit of the demeanor of a mad god, he is too reckless and dares to enter other people's formations at will. Countless people shook their heads with regret when they saw Xiaopingyan entering the formation. Before the people around him could react, in just 7 or 8 seconds, the formation disk that had previously covered Hu Sheng's Vajra chain protection pagoda formation suddenly trembled and shook violently, and then the next second, all of them under people's gaze, the Vajra chain protective pagoda formation turned into a ray of light, disappeared, and appeared in Xiaopingyan's hand instead. On the ground, Xiaopingyan stood in the air more than 10 meters above the ground, holding the rotating golden Vajra serial protective pagoda array in his hand, while Hu Sheng sat cross-legged on the ground, like as if he had seen a ghost. Xiaopingyan raised his head in disbelief and watched Xiaopingyan load the array disk into his space warehouse. He shouted in shock and confusion, "It's impossible. Only those super-powerful array masters can control or destroy the cardinal secret button of the array the moment they enter the array, and control the array in their own hands." The formation disk is actually a tool for competition and communication between formation masters. Although ordinary people can use the formation disk, they don't understand the key points at all. Could it be that the little mad god is still a hidden powerful formation master? At this moment, this thought flashed across countless people's heads. Except for powerful formation masters, no one could turn the tables and seize control of the array into their own hands in such a short period of time after entering the Vajra chain protection pagoda formation. Xiaopingyan was actually able to control this formation disk so quickly only because when he was at Iron Sword Peak, Old Man Iron Sword had used this formation disk to deduce the changes in the formation disk of the Vajra continuous protection pagoda formation countless times. Deo, who has conducted countless offensive and defensive deductions. Of course, in Xiaopingyan's view, Old Man Taijian's formation skills are at the level of a primary school student. Such deductions may be fun for Old Man Taijian, but for Xiaopingyan, in other words, through those deductions, he had already mastered this kind of formation, so he was able to break it so quickly. The Tablet of Tears broke Hu Sheng's summoning technique. The formation master's accomplishments broke Hu Sheng's formation in the blink of an eye. Under the spotlight, Hu Sheng relied on something that could not last more than 30 seconds in front of Xiaopingyan. Countless people were shocked and inexplicable. Before Hu Sheng, who was sitting cross-legged on the ground, turned around to run away, Xiaopingan's iron fist had already arrived in the air. With a loud boom, just one punch captured Hu Sheng, who was about to get up and run away again. In the large pit underground, half of Hu Sheng's bones were suddenly broken. He screamed and blood spurted out from his 7 orifices. It was so miserable that it was indescribable. Under Xiaopinggan's iron fist, Hu Sheng was like a poor junior high school student facing a professional heavyweight boxer, completely powerless to resist. "I'll fight you!" Hu Sheng roared angrily, summoning up his last remaining strength and ferocious energy. A Horcrux sword appeared in his hand, and slashed towards Xiaopinggan. The 7-star sword whip appeared in Xiaopinggan's hand. With just one strike, Hu Sheng's hand holding the long sword cut off Xiaopinggan alive. Xiaopinggan stepped on Hu Sheng's face with a click and cut off Hu Sheng's nose. They were all crushed, and a row of teeth spurted out from his mouth. Then, Xiaopinggan turned around in the air, kicked Hu Sheng hard, and stepped on the ground again. He was like a dead pig and could no longer move. At this moment, Elder Gu of the Hu family turned into a stream of fire and flew over fiercely, while Hu Sheng was stepped on the head by Xiaopinggan. The tip of the 7-star sword was pressed against his neck, like a dead fish, unable to move anymore. Elder Gu had clearly seen the situation in Hujiabao. The entire Hujiabao had been razed to the ground. No one in Hujiabao could be seen. Only Hu Sheng fell to the ground miserably and was used by Xiaopinggan with 1 foot. Step on the head like a dead fish. In the past hundreds of years, the Hu family had never suffered such a big loss, and the Hu family had never been so humiliated in public. What a thief! Elder Gu's voice was extremely angry, rumbling from the sky, wanting to tear Xiaopinggan's body into pieces and scatter his bones into ashes. Elder Gu didn't know how Xiaopinggan came to Xuanji City, but in the situation before him, the Hu family's majesty and dignity in Xuanji City had been trampled on by Xiaopinggan and became a joke. Xiaopinggan looked coldly at Elder Gu, flying in anger. He was confident and motionless, with a disdainful sneer on his face. He was not Elder Gu's opponent, but in the situation in front of him, Elder Gu couldn't do it either. Don't tolerate him at all. Sure enough, just when Elder Gu rushed to 10,000 meters away from Xiaopinggan, a huge barrier suddenly appeared in the sky. Elder Gu's flying fire was immediately blocked by the barrier. A low voice suddenly sounded in the sky. "Hu Gu, this is a divine descendant family. It is inappropriate for us to interfere in the affairs of the younger generation. Let them explain clearly before making a final decision." The one who spoke was Dishian, an elder from the Di family in Xuanji City who had been watching the battle but had been silent. The elder of the Di family is gentle and elegant, with 3 long strands of beard on his chin. He looks as gentle as water, but his eyes are sparkling, and he looks like he is not easy to mess with. In this situation, Dishian had to take action, because if he didn't take action and let the elders of the Hu family kill Mei Zheng here, the prestige and dignity of the Di family would be trampled under the feet of the Hu family. Everyone in the world knows that Mei Zheng is the son-in-law of the Di family. Even if this son-in-law is a famous figure among the top leaders of the Hu family, at this time, the Di family cannot just sit back and watch. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 685. Seeing Dishian, the elder of the Di family, trying to stop him, Hu Gu was furious, his eyes were about to burst, and his body was full of evil energy. He pointed at Hujiabao and Xiaopinggan, who had turned into flat ground in the sky, and shouted, "This is not enough. Are you clear? Mei Zheng is here to raise my Hu family's fortress in Xuanji City to the ground. The disciples of the Hu family are dead and injured, what else? Even if the mad god comes today, he still has to give my Hu family an explanation." Elder Dishian of the Di family was still talking slowly. Everyone in Xuanji City has heard it. Mei Zheng said before that the Hu family sent people to intercept and kill him several times outside Xuanji City. The Hu family did this. I don't know why. What he is doing now, it's just revenge. it's better for us to distinguish between the specific rights and wrongs. Distinguish. Hu Gu looked at Hu Sheng, who was stepped on by Xiaopingan in the sky, and laughed angrily. Just before Mei Zheng killed my Hu family's children and destroyed my Hu family's fort, Elder Di was also there. Why didn't Elder Di stop me at that time and analyze it carefully, but now he wants to stop me? The rivers and lakes are deep and people's hearts are sinister. Those who kill people in public are not necessarily bad people, and those who are killed are not necessarily good people. Now that we are in full view of the public, it is better to make a clear distinction. The voice of the elder Dijong did not change from beginning to end, and he was indifferent. With a strong aura, he said, let's put aside the relationship between Mei Zheng and Mad God. Mei Zheng is the son-in-law of my Di family and has been engaged to a girl from my Di family. If the Hu family had intercepted and killed my Di family in the wild before, the son-in-law of the Di family, Elder Hu Gu, is going to give an explanation to our Di family. When will it be my son-in-law's turn to be taught a lesson by the Hu family? Hearing what Elder Di said, Hu Gu's eyes suddenly narrowed, and his voice suddenly calmed down. Is Elder Di determined to stop me today? Elder Di Xian smiled slightly. I still said what I said, right and wrong. Today in front of all friends in Xuanji City and Gaoxian, we will make a clear distinction. If it turns out that Mei Zheng is insane and kills innocent people here indiscriminately, we, the Di family, will no longer interfere with the grudges between the Hu family and Mei Zheng. Elder Hu can do whatever he wants, and Mei Zheng will bear all the consequences. We, the Di family, will never protect the shortcomings and will definitely give the Di family a chance to uphold justice. If it was later proven that the Hu family intercepted and killed my son-in-law of the Di family for no reason. When Elder Di Xian said this, his voice suddenly turned completely cold, revealing a sense of majesty. Then please ask the head of the Hu family to come to Bai Ziwen in person to give an explanation to my Di family. Just as Elder Di Xian of the Di family finished speaking, Hu Gu's figure disappeared in the sky in an instant. Elder Di Xian's eyes narrowed, and his entire figure suddenly disappeared on the spot. Rumble! Rumble! Almost at the same time that the two people disappeared, a series of thunderous sounds exploded in the sky for no reason. Thunder, lightning, flames, strong winds, and the invisible shockwave instantly overturned mountains and seas, agitated in the sky, and destroyed everyone. The clouds in the sky of Xuanji City were cleared away, and the Wuxing shockwave spread in all directions with a sharp wind, blowing the robes and clothes of the summoners who were watching the battle in the sky. I was so blown away that I couldn't keep my eyes open. This series of collisions was dense and intense, but it did not last long, only 5 or 6 seconds. When the thunder and lightning dissipated, everyone could only see that in the sky 10,000 meters away from the Hu family fort, Hu Gu, the elder of the Hu family, and Di Xian, the elder of the Flute family, stood side by side in the sky hundreds of meters apart. Hu Gu's face was filled with expressions. Ashen, breathing heavily. However, Di Xian's gentleness was no longer there. Instead, his face turned completely cold and he directly ordered from the sky, all disciples of the Di family obey the order. Without my order, no one from the Hu family will be allowed to approach the Hu family fort today. Be sure to protect Mr. Mei's safety. Yes. The masters of the Di family who had been watching the battle in Xuanji City responded, and suddenly many people flew into the sky around the Hu family fort, with their backs to Xiaopingan, and put their hands on the ground. Xiaopingan, who was still stepping on Hu Sheng, protected him. Those who were watching in Xuanji City were silent at this moment. Everyone was full of food. No one expected to see such a wonderful drama in Xuanji City today. First, the little mad god destroyed the Hu family. White Castle, and then the elders of the Hu family and the Di family actually fought in Xuanji City. This big melon suddenly involved 3 divine families. It was the most lively scene in Xuanji City in the past few years. In the fight just now, Hu Gu did not get any advantage from Di Xian at all. Di Xian, an elder of the Nine Sun realm who is also a member of the Di family of the Divine Family, is not inferior to him at all, and is even slightly stronger. Seeing that it was impossible to rush in from Di Xian's hands today, Hu Gu roared in the sky, Mei Zheng intercepted and killed me in the wilderness in order to get the secret book Xianmi Lu passed down by the Hu family. The master of the Hu family, Huan, seized the mysterious record and escaped. Because of this, my Hu family decided to settle the score with Mei Zheng. Why didn't Elder Di personally ask that Mei Zheng to see if he killed Huan of my Hu family first? Ha ha ha. Before the boss of the flute could ask, Xiaopingan, who had been on the ground in Hujiapu, laughed wildly, with contempt in his voice. The Hu family's dog jumps over the wall, confusing right and wrong. It really opened my eyes. No wonder the Hu family can teach a scoundrel like Hu Sheng to act recklessly and take human lives everywhere. Hu Gu, as the elder of the Hu family's elders, how dare you do anything at this time? You dare not admit it, but you still want to throw dirty water on me. How shameless. I feel pathetic for your Hu family. What did you say? Hu Gu stared at Xiaopingan with his eyes, wishing he could skin Xiaopingan Lingqi with his eyes. Xiaopingan sneered, I have been taught by Mad God personally, and I have already understood the secret method of 5 elements boxing that combines magic and martial arts. In the future, I will get the domain boundary bead. With my qualifications, it will be easy to integrate the domain boundary bead. And your Hu family's mysterious record, it is just a method that your Hu family has developed to imitate the Tao through magic for those high-level summoners who are unable to understand the mysteries of the realm and cannot touch the path of combining magic and martial arts. Although it is exquisite, it can be regarded as a work of genius, but mysterious record in the eyes of experts who can master the field, it is just a child's play, just a joke, saying that I will kill people of your Hu family for your mysterious record. Thank you for having you can tell with your face. Your joke is just like telling a rich man who is extremely rich to steal the rice bowl of a beggar. Mei Zheng, what a big tone, domain power, it is the most difficult realm bead to understand and master among the realm beads. Even if you are a son of God, there are many people who cannot master the realm beads. In the fusion realm beads I don't know how many powerful masters die in the process of headshots every year. Our Hu family's Xianmi Lu is the most powerful way to control spells under the power of the domain. It is famous all over the world. You dare to say that you don't have it? You covet the secret method of our Hu family, how dare you say that you didn't kill Huan? Hu Gu shouted loudly. I killed Wan, but he deserves to die, Xiaopingan said loudly without any scruples. As he spoke, Xiaopingan exerted force on his feet, and the skull of Hu Sheng's head, which he had been stepping on, began to crack. Less than half of his head was stepped on by Xiaopingan and fell into the stone underground. Hu Sheng, who was already dying, suddenly screamed and wailed loudly, and blood spurted out from his mouth and nose. What are you doing? Seeing Xiaopingan still humiliating and abusing Hu Sheng in full view of everyone, Hu Gu roared and wanted to charge again, but was stopped by Di Xian, so he could only worry in the distance. Xiaopingan leaned his head and looked at Hu Sheng, who had a look of fear and pain on his face. His voice was cold, Hu Sheng, now in front of everyone, I swear the summoner's mandala life and blood oath. How can I send Huan to intercept and kill me? Tell everyone clearly what happened. If you dare to hide anything, I am here today, in front of everyone in the entire Xuanji city, to make you regret reincarnating in this world. You, how dare you? The Hu family will not let you go. I don't know what you are talking about. Hu Sheng's mind was still somewhat clear at this time. He gritted his teeth and with a fierceness Jin'er, still unwilling to bow to Xiaopingan. Very good, I hope you won't regret it. You will soon know that the so-called being cut into pieces and cut into pieces is not the most painful thing for a person. Xiaopingan smiled coldly and said, pointing his hand at Hu Sheng, the raging power of the 5 elements surged from all directions, and poured into Hu Sheng's body amidst Hu Sheng's screams. All the people watching changed their expressions at this moment, because everyone felt that Xiaopinggan was mobilizing the power of the five elements using the method of combining law and martial arts. However, what everyone did not expect was that Xiaopinggan could also pour the power of the five elements into the body. Into Hu Sheng's body. What is this for? As soon as the power of the five elements was poured into Hu Sheng's body, Hu Sheng's eyes suddenly protruded and widened, and countless bloodshot eyes suddenly filled his eyes. Under the indescribable and huge pain, Hu Sheng's whole body twitched underground. His body stiffened and then straightened. The muscles and veins in his whole body were squirming and bulging violently from under his skin. Hu Sheng raised his head and let out a roar of extreme pain. The pain was so extreme that the roar was silent. Only drops of blood seeped out from under the skin on Hu Sheng's neck. Because it was too painful, it was like falling into hell. Hu Sheng opened his mouth and bit the gravel on the ground, breaking all the stones on the ground. Rumble. Thousands of meters away, there was another loud noise and shock wave. Mei Zheng, the Hu family is incompatible with you. Hu Gu roared angrily and couldn't help but wanted to rush over again, but was stopped by Dishian. The two of them, the strong men of the Nine Sun realm, exchanged several moves in the sky above Xuanji city. The terrifying shock wave once again swept through the sky, forcing all the nearby summoners within a few kilometers to fly away. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 686. Hu Sheng comes from a famous family and is the legitimate son of the Hu family, a divine descendant. Although he is not a divine son, his cultivation is not weak. The current head of the Hu family, Hu Tiangang, is Hu Sheng's biological father. In terms of ruthlessness, in terms of the bloody scenes he has experienced, Hu Sheng has seen countless people since he was a child. The people who died in his hands due to various reasons were not to mention mountains of corpses and seas of blood, but there were hundreds of them. Hu Sheng didn't believe that Xiaopinggan dared to kill him in full view of Xuanji city, which gave him the confidence to speak harshly. But at this time, Hu Sheng was eager to die quickly. Perhaps death would be comfortable and liberating at this time. The pain and heart-rending pain were indescribable to Hu Sheng and exceeded his maximum endurance and imagination of all torture. His spine felt like a red-hot iron rod was driven into his spine. His heart belonged to fire, but at this moment he felt as if his heart in his chest was falling into a hell of ice, being pierced by countless icy spikes. His liver belongs to wood, but at this moment, he felt like there were countless sharp metal blades cutting his liver piece by piece. His spleen belongs to earth, but at this moment, he felt that the wood energy in his spleen was growing stronger, dissolving his spleen bit by bit. His lungs were made of gold, but at this moment, he felt as if his lungs were soaked in magma, and even breathing air was like breathing fire into his lungs, burning his lungs. His kidneys belonged to water, but at this moment, he felt that his kidneys were turning into stone, losing their life firepower little by little, drying up, dying, drying up and becoming hard. Hu Sheng didn't know if there was hell in this world, but at this moment, he already believed that all the hells in the world combined were what he felt physically and mentally at this moment. The power of the five elements poured into his body did not rush around randomly, but used the five elements to create and restrain each other, allowing him to experience the greatest pain that every organ and every cell in his body could experience. What's even more terrifying is that in this kind of pain that can melt even a tough man, Hu Sheng saw the fingers of his two hands melting little by little like candles. Yes, it was melting, not an illusion. But really melting. The power of the five elements poured into his body started from his fingers, and his body organs, bones, flesh and blood were broken down, assimilated, and transformed into the power of the five elements bit by bit like a candle, turning into ashes and falling to the ground bit by bit. There is no greater terror or greater pain between body and mind than this. Therefore, under the torture of Xiaopingan, Hu Sheng, who had just been so arrogant that he wanted to kill Xiaopingan, only lasted 7 seconds, or even less than 7 seconds, when the power of the 5 elements in his body relaxed slightly, and just now when he was given a chance to speak, he burst into tears, collapsed, and began to beg for mercy. "Ah, spare me," I said everything. Hu Sheng cried, his whole body completely crossed, and he roared loudly in a voice that everyone could hear. "Humble and cowardly, I am willing, to make the blood oath of the summoner's mandala, to explain everything about how to arrange for Huan to intercept and kill you, to explain everything clearly. Then, let's talk." Xiaopingan looked down at Hu Sheng, relaxed the pain on Hu Sheng a little more, and let Hu Sheng turn over and get up. "I'm not a human being, I'm an animal, I'm despicable and shameless." Hu Sheng, with disheveled hair, slapped himself. "Hu Sheng, don't talk nonsense." Hu Gu, the elder of the Hu family in the distance, watched Hu Sheng kneel down and swear an oath in front of Xiaopingan. His eyes were red with anxiety, and he couldn't help but roared, trying to make Hu Sheng stop. At this moment, Hu Sheng's entire spiritual will had long been defeated by Xiaopingan's torture. It was as if he had not heard the roar of Elder Hu Gu over there. Hu Gu's words only made his heart tremble slightly, and he thought of just now what he had experienced made his whole soul tremble. At this moment, for Hu Sheng, he would rather die than experience the hell-like pain just now. So, Hu Sheng began to bite the fingers of his own hands, knelt on the ground, pointed one finger to the sky, and the other finger to the ground, and began to swear the summoner's mandala blood oath with a trembling voice. "I Hu Sheng, today, therefore, with the heaven and earth as evidence, and the summoner's secret mandala as my heart, I make a blood oath. If there is a single lie in what I say next, I will be killed by both heaven and earth. The mandala will be shattered, and my divine power will be exhausted. I will live forever and never be with you." The feeling of mandala. As Hu Sheng began to speak, the light and shadow of his secret mandala appeared behind him. The light and shadow resonated with the heaven and earth, and suddenly turned into blood color. This was the scene when the summoner made the blood oath of the mandala. For summoners who are above the 6 Yang realm, after making a mandala's life-blood oath, if the oath is broken, the summoner's mandala will immediately collapse. For the summoner, such consequences may range from losing all his cultivation to becoming a disabled person will be disabled and unable to practice forever. In worse cases, his body will be broken into pieces on the spot, and even the use of requiem cannot save him. Then, under the gaze of all the summoners in Xuanji city, Hu Sheng, trembling and fearful, said all the words Xiaopingan wanted him to say. "Because I have always wanted to marry Shulongzi, the divine son of the Shulong family, let Shulongzi marry into the Hu family, so I saw someone wearing a disguise mask to rescue Shulongzi from the 10,000 demons ridge. I felt jealous. After that man left Shulong's flying boat, I asked the bodyguard Master Huan around me to intercept and kill that man. I didn't expect that the person wearing the cross-dressing mask was the little mad god Mei Zheng. Dressing up, before Wan died, he used the bloodline soul ring to send back the news that the person who killed him was Mei Zheng. Then I was unwilling to accept it, and notified the Hu family, and asked experts to intercept and kill Mei Zheng. I think, it happened to be that Wan was killed by Mei Zheng as an excuse. If we can catch Mei Zheng, our Hu family will have the opportunity to extract from him the secret of the combination of magic and martial arts of the mad god." Lineage. When Hu Sheng spoke, Hu Gu, the elder of the Hu family who had been trying to rush over just now, turned pale and his lips trembled. It was as if all his strength had been taken away from him. He did not make any more moves. Hu Gu was stunned. Standing blankly in the sky, looking at the situation here, his whole face has changed drastically, and his fingers are trembling. Seeing that Hu Gu did not take action again, Elder Dishian of the Di family naturally did not take action either. The entire Xuanji city just watched and listened to Hu Sheng tell what happened after taking the oath. Finally, Elder Hu Gu discovered Mei Zheng, and started to chase him, but he still let Mei Zheng escape. We were afraid that Mei Zheng would go to Xuanji city, while setting up pockets outside Xuanji city, and continuing to dispatch the family experts track Mei Zheng's traces in the wild. At this moment, the sky in Xuanji city was so quiet that you could even hear the sound of the wind blowing by. Although I am a human being and the Kuangshen lineage does not rise or fall, I am still the son-in-law of the Di family. Why do you, the Hu family, dare to be so arrogant and bold? You openly send out masters to intercept and kill me in the wild. Aren't you afraid of offending the Di family? Xiaopingan asked calmly. Elder Hu said that the Di family has nothing to worry about. That's bullshit. As long as we don't let you go to Xuanji city, as long as we can arrest and intercept you in the wild, and do this without anyone noticing, we are not afraid. If the matter is accidentally exposed, just say that you kill our Hu family, rob our Hu family's Xianmi Lu, and give our Hu family an explanation. Even if the Di family wants to interfere, we also have reasons. The mad god is coming. We are not afraid either. The inheritance of the mad god's lineage of combining magic and martial arts is in you. For this, we are worth the risk, and there are good reasons. If our Hu family has gained the mad god's way of combining magic and martial arts, and our Hu family's path to the divine way will be even broader, in the future, we can surpass the Di family and trample the Di family under their feet. Xiaopingan glanced around. The faces of the masters of the nearby flute family and the expressions of the elder flute master in the distance had just turned completely dark, like the bottom of a pot. Especially the face of the elder flute master Di Xian looked at Hu Gu. Extremely gloomy. Xiaopingan had no expression on his face and continued to ask calmly, "Does the head of the Hu family know about chasing me?" Of course the head of the family knows, he just acquiesced. So he asked Elder Gu to assist me. By the way, I haven't found any trace of you these days. Elder Gu has informed the head of the house. The head of the house will also send experts to Xuanji city to search for you. The reason is that in order to deal with the changes in 10,000 Demons Ridge, the ancient relics are making big moves in 10,000 Demons Ridge. Hu Sheng looked at Xiaopingan eagerly, and Xiaopingan's horse face and triangular eyes looked like something to Hu Sheng. The devil has completely frightened him. Okay, now that you've made it clear, then you can go. I won't kill you. Xiaopingan smiled slightly at Hu Sheng. Really, really? Hu Sheng's eyes suddenly widened and he asked in disbelief. Really, go ahead before I change my mind. After hearing Xiaopingan's words, Hu Sheng was granted amnesty. With a move of his hand, he had a handful of elixirs in his hands. After stuffing the elixirs into his mouth, as the broken bones and wounds on his body healed again, he flew up unsteadily, like a bereaved dog. Without daring to look back, he flew towards the place where Elder Hu Gu was. The sky in the entire Xuanji city was extremely quiet at this moment. No one spoke or intercepted. Everyone just watched Hu Shenfei fly in front of Hu Gu. Hu Gu looked at Hu Sheng, his face as calm as a granite tombstone weathered for thousands of years, without any expression. Elder Gu, hurry, where is Mei Zheng? Kill him. As soon as he arrived in front of Hu Gu, Hu Sheng's face suddenly turned ferocious again, new and old hatreds welling up in his heart, and he pointed Xiaopingan in the distance roared, hissing at the top of his lungs. Boom! Hu Gu took action, and with just one punch, he pierced Hu Sheng's chest. Hu Gu's fist came out from Hu Sheng's back, and he was still holding a beating heart in his hand. Hu Sheng vomited blood from his mouth, his eyes widened, he glanced down at the hand that penetrated his chest, and then at Elder Gu who had an expressionless and indifferent face, as if he couldn't believe what he saw. You are the legitimate son of the family. He is also the most beloved great-grandson of the ancestor of the Hu family. Why did Elder Gu want to kill him? Gu, Elder Gu. Hu Gu didn't say a word, but his hands burned with flames. The heart in his hands blinked into ashes, and Hu Sheng's entire body also burned and blinked into ashes. A lot of things exploded from Hu Sheng's body, and they were all collected by Hu Gu. As for the ashes, Hu Sheng didn't even look at them, letting them float in the air. The family is unfortunate. This is the explanation from the Hu family to the Di family. Hu Gu said to Di Xian in a hoarse voice, and then stared at Xia Pingan in the distance, with eyes like it's like breathing fire. Then without looking back, it turns into a flash of fire, turns around and runs away. Many experts from the Hu family had rushed to Xuanji city before, but when those experts saw what happened later, they all remained silent. As soon as Hu Gu left, no one from the Hu family was left. With their faces left in Xuanji city, everyone turned around and flew away without staying for a moment. Golden Summoner. Author, Zy Hu. Chapter 687. Xia Pingan watched calmly as the elders of the Hu family and those masters flew away from Xuanji city. Especially the look Hu Gu looked at Xia Pingan when he left Xuanji city was full of deep-seated hatred and murderous intent. That look made Xia Pingan know that the mortal feud between himself and the Hu family was settled. The Hu family may not attack him blatantly in the future. After all, once word spreads that the Hu family killed the Di family's son-in-law, they may have to completely break up with the Di family. But secretly targeting themselves, I'm afraid they won't. Phew. However, who is afraid of whom? The road to becoming a god cannot be faced smoothly and with evasion. Some powerful enemies must be faced head-on and fight their way out. Like this time, if I escape again, I will finally build up the vest of the little crazy god. Was about to be scrapped, and it would be difficult to erect it again in the future, so I chose to break the situation. The Hu family was a hurdle on my way to becoming a god, and this hurdle must be overcome and leveled. The Hu family members have left, but the eyes of all the melon-eating people in Xuanji city are still focused on Xia Pingan. The little mad god Mei Zheng was in Xuanji city today, and actually put the Hu family's foundation in Xuanji city, uprooting and wiping out the White Fort. Not only killed many masters of the Hu family, but also forced the Hu family elders to kill the legitimate son of the head of the Hu family here in public. Such methods and domineering power are really shocking. The Hu family's face was trampled on the ground countless times by the little mad god in Xuanji city today, and they even spit on their faces. I am afraid that the Hu family will not have the face to continue to set up any branch in Xuanji city in the future. In full view of everyone, Xia Pingan didn't go anywhere. Instead, he picked up things on the ground among the ruins of Hu's fort without any scruples. Xia Pingan waved his hand and dug through the ruins on the ground to find a few boundary beads. Then, with a wave of his hand, he summoned a magic vine that flashed red light. The magic vine it burrowed into the ground with a squeaking sound. In just a few breaths, the magic vines rolled up dozens of world beads and some scattered bottles, jars, swords, mirrors and other magic weapons and drilled out of the ground. Come out. Xia Pingan took all the trophies into his secret mandala without any courtesy. Everyone in Xuanji city was watching. Many people were jealous and were swallowing their saliva, but no one dared to go there, because the things Xia Pingan found now were all exploded from the Hu family masters who he had killed just now. Except Xia Pingan, no one is embarrassed to go there and take advantage at this time, and of course, they don't have the courage. The advantages of the little crazy god are not so easy to take advantage of. The Hu family has learned from the past. Elder Di Xian of the Di family and a group of masters of the Di family watched Xia Pingan minding his own business in searching for trophies on the ruins of the Hu family's White Fort. They were all speechless. The masters of the Di family remained silent and did not stop them. He didn't participate, he just watched from the sidelines. Elder Di Xian watched with deep eyes as Xia Pingan searched for things in the ruins of the Hu family's White Fort as if no one else was watching. His eyes were speechless at the beginning, and then gradually became more appreciative. Only a great hero can show his true colors and be so courageous in his methods. he is worthy of being the descendant of the mad god who can tie with De Long, the 10 most powerful sons of the De family. In full view of everyone, Xiaopingan searched for a while among the ruins of the white castle that he had razed to the ground. Suddenly, with another wave of his hand, 2 giants tens of meters tall were summoned by Xiaopingan. Under the command of Xiaopingan, the 2 summoned giants cleared a large area of building ruins on the ground in the blink of an eye. The 2 giants were tinkering on the ground for a while, and in the blink of an eye, they dug out a path on the ruins. Suddenly, there was a loud bang in the spacious passage going underground, and a piece of ground covering hundreds of square meters was suddenly lifted open by the 2 giants. Under the ground, it was not entirely made of masonry. There was also a metal layer made of steel plates. The 2 giants peeled off the metal, just like tearing open a tin can buried in the underground ruins. The dazzling golden light stung the eyes of all summoners present. White Castle Secret Vault. Many summoners onlookers exclaimed. Yes, the giants summoned by Xiaopingan found the secret warehouse under the Hu family fort and opened it. The warehouse is filled with smelted gold. The gold almost fills half of the underground vault of White Castle. Piles of gold bricks are piled like hills on the floor of the warehouse. There are hundreds of piles. In addition to this gold, there are some boxes and precious metals and medicinal materials in the secret warehouse, and there are also a lot of them. Seeing so much gold under the White Castle, the onlookers breathed heavily. Why these big cities in the god-killing insect realm can become big cities, with so many people and families gathering there, is because the resources near these big cities can attract people. For example, there are gold mines and star iron veins underground near Xuanji city. The fortress branch strongholds of various divine families here exist to a large extent for these important resources. Those mineral veins can be guarded by summoners, who can summon miners and manpower to mine them, and the profits can be huge. The Hu family has gold mines and star iron mines outside Xuanji city. The gold in the underground warehouse of Bibao is probably the gold mined by the Hu family this year, but it has not been transported away and is placed in the secret warehouse of Bibao. But unexpectedly, it was served by the little mad god. Before the surrounding summoners could drool, Xiaopingan had transferred all the items in the underground vault of White Castle to the warehouse of his secret mandala with a wave of his hand. What a big space equipment! Many summoners were shocked when they saw those things in the White Castle secret vault disappear with Xiaopingan's wave of his hand. Xiaopingan, who almost wiped the entire White Castle to the ground in public, saw that there were not many valuable things in the entire White Castle, so he called back the giant and the magic vine, flew to the sky again, glanced at the surrounding sky, and looked serious. He coughed twice. Ahem, I confiscated these things in the underground warehouse of Hujiabao. They are considered compensation from the Hu family. Although this kind of compensation cannot make up for the harm I suffered from the Hu family, 1% can only compensate me for a little mental loss, but it's better than nothing. The people in the sky around looked at Xiaopingan speechlessly. I have completely broken up with the Hu family today. As of today, I don't have any scruples anymore. Xiaopingan continued to speak loudly to the people around him. It just so happens that all my friends are here today. I am here to officially announce to everyone, if you have any rare world beads or rare spiritual crystals, you can come to me. I will stay in Xuanji city for a while and buy all kinds of rare world beads and rare spiritual crystals at high prices. As for money, well, what I have in hand is that everyone saw it just now. Ahem, originally I only planned to get along with everyone as an ordinary son of God. Unexpectedly, what I got in exchange was a conspiracy. Okay, stop pretending, it's the Hu family. Mine, I am an array master or a saint master. I have shown my cards. I currently have the 3 secret methods of Saint Master initiation, the Tablet of Tears, the Magic Vine, and the Giant. As long as you have the world beads and resources, you can come and find them. I can give you initiation. Just when everyone in Xuanji City was stunned, Xiaopingan once again made a shocking revelation in front of everyone. What? The secret method of Holy Master initiation of the Tablet of Tears. Not to mention the melon-eating crowd, even the elder Dishyan of the Di family was shocked when he heard Xiaopingan's words. Although the magic vine and the giant's initiation secret are rare, they are not uncommon for the goddess family, because these two summoning techniques also have spiritual crystals, but the Holy Master who can master the tearing tablet summoning secret, Elder Dishyan never seen it before. The summoning technique of the Fallen Monument is too powerful, and the divine sense crystal of the Fallen Monument is even more rare. Once you master this summoning technique, no matter how powerful the opponent is, you can instantly destroy all the opponent's summons and thousands of troops. All paralyzed and useless. To a certain extent, the summoning technique of the Fallen Monument of Tears is strategic for these big families and sects. No matter how powerful the summoner is, even if he is a demigod, once he faces the Lord of Tears it's like being tied up. You can only use spells to fight, and your summoning ability will be banned. Of course, the summoning spell of the Fallen Monument also has limitations, that is, it can only be used one-on-one. When it is hostile to others, it can only ban the summoning spell of one summoner, but it is powerful enough. In addition to being one of the 10 sons of God, the little crazy god is also a very powerful formation master and even a holy master. He actually also masters the secret method of initiation of the falling tablet. The eyes looking at Xiaopingan in the sky of Xuanji City were several times hotter than before. Under everyone's gaze, Xiaopingan flew to Dishyan, the elder of Dishyan, and bowed respectfully to Dishyan. Mei Zheng has met Elder Di. Thank you so much for Elder Di's help just now. Dishyan glanced at Xiaopingan's face, and suddenly felt that Mei Zheng's horse face and triangular eyes looked a bit heroic. A gentle smile suddenly appeared on Elder Dishyan's face. He took 2 steps closer and took Xiaopingan's arm affectionately. Uncle, we are all a family. Why should we be so indifferent to outsiders? If you could contact me a few days ago, I will definitely not let the Hu family act recklessly in Xuanji City. My uncle has been working hard these days, so he went to Digiabao to have a good rest for 2 days. In the end, all the melon-eating people in Xuanji City just watched the elders and masters of the Di family, surrounding their uncle from the Di family, chatting and laughing all the way, and flew towards the Digia fort. The little mad god Mei Zheng destroyed the Hu family's white fort in Xuanji City, forcing Hu Gu, the elder of the Hu family, to kill Hu Sheng, the legitimate son of the head of the Hu family. At the same time, the little mad god revealed the foundation accumulated by the mad god lineage for thousands of years, showing the powerful formation master's cultivation, and the news that he had the ability to be initiated by the holy master of the fallen tablet flew in all directions from Xuanji City through various channels in the blink of an eye, once again causing a sensation in the god-killing insect world and alarming countless people. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 688. Digiabao, Living Room. The huge living room is extremely spacious, with white jade floor tiles on the floor, which is bright and luxurious. Dishyan is sitting in the living room with Xiaopingan, drinking tea and talking cordially. Uncle, I just got the news that Hu Gu has transferred all the mines and mines owned by the Hu family in Xuanji City to the Shilong family. The Hu family has completely withdrawn from Xuanji City. Now you and the Hu family will be married. I have taken a deadly revenge. The gentle and elegant elder Dishyan held a fragrant teacup in his hand with a leisurely and relaxed attitude. While drinking tea, he chatted with Xiaopingan. As long as your uncle is in Xuanji City for a day, I can guarantee your uncle's safety, but once my uncle leaves Xuanji City, it will be hard to say. For the sake of the Di family, the Hu family may not dare to come openly, but I don't believe that the Hu family will let this matter go. The Hu family will not come openly, but there are many ways to come secretly. I wonder what my uncle has planned. The soldiers came to cover up the water and the earth. If the Hu family hadn't gone too far this time and forced me to a dead end, I wouldn't have wanted to have such a big hatred with the Hu family. At this moment, Xiaopinggan is no longer as good as the Hu family before. The fierce extreme of Jiabao, the whole person is calm, and neither arrogant nor arrogant. It is really like the son-in-law of the Di family meeting the elder. He is both respectful and measured. Thank you, Elder Di, for taking action before help. Some words are inconvenient to say in front of outsiders, but I can say it here. In order to thank the Di family for taking action today, I can initiate a disciple of the Di family and let him master the secret method of the Tears Monument. I will stay in Xuanji City for a long time. For a period of time, during this period, the Di family can have people come to receive the Holy Master's initiation. After hearing this, Elder Dishian secretly praised in his heart that this is the ability to let go and hold back. Previously, Mei Zheng dared to go to Hujiapu alone, which was actually a bet that he would intercept Hugu. It must be said that Mei Zheng bet by the way. In that case, for the sake of the Di family's dignity, he had to take action. Elder Dishian knew that he and the Di family had been taken advantage of by Mei Zheng, and he actually had a little grudge in his heart. But at this moment, while chatting with Xiaopinggan, the grudge in Elder Dishian's heart quickly disappeared. Others only saw the arrogance and strength of the little mad god Mei Zheng, but only he saw the wisdom and methods as steady as an old dog in the little mad god Mei Zheng. He made a move on behalf of the Di family today, and he suppressed the Hu family has maintained the honor and dignity of the Di family, and now they have received the initiation promise of a tearful monument for the Di family. The Di family is actually not losing at all today. The two drank tea and chatted for a while. Dishian never asked how Xiaopinggan became a formation master and a saint master. For the Son of God, this is the reflection of the family heritage, especially the profession of saint master. Because of the unique advantages of God's Son, who has divine bones and is blessed by the blood of the gods, the chance of becoming a saint master is the highest among all people. Yes, the saint masters of various divine descendant families, and even the top saint masters in the Yuan-Kai world, are basically all descended from sons of gods. If my uncle wants to stay in Xuanji City for a while, he should live in Dijiabao. He doesn't need to see anyone else. In order to cope with the Hu family's next revenge, I want to collect some rare world beads and rare spiritual crystals in Xuanji City recently. I have more contact with people every day. I live in Digia Fort, and there are not many outsiders coming and going every day. It's convenient, but it also affects the peace in the castle. I live in Xuanji Villa, and Elder Di can find me at any time if anything happens. Collecting rare spiritual crystals was a pretense. Xiaopinggan didn't actually use them, but it would arouse suspicion, so he pretended to need spiritual crystals. Xuanji Villa is the top hotel in Xuanji City. It is similar in nature to Iron Sword Peak. It was also established by the biggest gangster in Xuanji City. All aspects have been taken into consideration. There is no need to worry too much about safety. As long as it is not a powerful demigod from the Hu family. If someone comes to conduct a raid, Xuanji Villa basically has nothing to worry about. Well, my uncle has thought carefully. If my uncle has anything to do, he can come to Dijiabao at any time. I will stay in Xuanji City for a long time. Okay, thank you Elder Di. Xiaopinggan suddenly remembered something and wanted to find out about 10,000 Mo Ridge. By the way, I wonder if Elder Di knows what happened in 10,000 Mo Ridge. No one knows the specific situation, but the Di family has sent experts to find out, but there are signs that there were semi-god level strongmen who fought underground in 10,000 Demon Ridge some time ago, and then the ancient survivors appeared in large numbers in 10,000 Demon Ridge. It is possible that a large mine of spiritual crystals has been discovered underground over the 10,000 Demons Ridge. Demigods fighting against each other in 10,000 Demon Ridge. A large mine of divine mind crystals was discovered in 10,000 Mo Ridge. Xiaoping'an feels that the situation in 10,000 Demon Ridge seems to be more complicated. For example, what happened to those people who cooperated with the ancient survivors to hunt down Xulongzi? There is actually human power colluding with the ancient survivors. This should be a big event. Well, that's it. Xiaoping'an pondered for a few seconds before speaking. I also came out of 10,000 Demons Ridge, and I discovered that there is a new situation there. There are human forces colluding with the ancient survivors. They are capturing the divine son of the divine descendant family who has entered 10,000 Demons Ridge. They are very secretive. Please pay more attention to the Di family. There are people colluding with the ancient survivors to capture the blood of the divine family in 10,000 Demon Ridge. Elder Di Xian frowned when he heard this, and his eyes flashed. This is no small matter, because for the ancient survivors, the human race is the prey. There are actually human forces colluding with the ancient relics and capturing the blood of the divine family together? This is too abnormal, uncle, are you sure? Xiaoping'an nodded, sure, I've fought with them before. It's best for the son of the Di family not to go to 10,000 Demon Ridge recently. This situation is very important. I will personally report it to the head of the family and let the Di family pay attention. Thank you for informing me. After Xiaoping'an had tea and chatted in Digia Fort, Di Xian personally sent Xiaoping'an out of Digia Fort. Xiaoping'an, who left Digia Fort, quickly arrived at Xuanji Villa located in the center of Xuanji City. This Xuanji Villa is very similar to Iron Sword Peak. It is built on a fortress-like mountain. It is protected by a large formation and has experts stationed there. It is not easy for ordinary people to enter. Xiaoping'an's arrival caused quite a commotion in Xuanji Villa, a bit like the feeling of a celebrity staying at a hotel. Xiaoping'an asked for a separate courtyard and quickly completed the check-in procedures. After arriving at the other courtyard, he asked the God of Fortune to check it out. If there was no problem, he went directly to the underground training room of the other courtyard and took out a formation plate. He protected himself in the basement, then released Xiaolefu to protect himself, and then took out the boundary pearl and prepared to fuse it. Xulongzi gave him 2 world beads before. Just now in Hujiabao, he found another rare world bead among the trophies that he had not fused before. Therefore, Xiaoping'an now has 3 world beads that can be fused. The first fiery red boundary bead that Xiaoping'an took out was obtained from Hujiabao. There were only 2 small seal characters Wuji on it. Among the boundary beads, there was a vague figure of a resolute and heroic figure wearing armor. The form appears in it. According to some information that Xiaoping'an has come across before, the Wuji world bead is a warrior world bead. Once fused, the war general can be summoned to control the summoned warriors and war partners, killing the enemy. Sometimes, when there are soldiers led by war generals, they can arrange their troops into formations and have stronger combat effectiveness. The Warlord World Pearl can not only summon powerful warrior masters, but it is also a power amplifier for those warriors. This world bead was just discovered among the trophies in the Hu family fort. This kind of world bead is both rare and precious. This is the first time Xiaoping'an has encountered it. Wu Ji, also named Jin Qing, was a famous general in the southern Song dynasty who fought against the Jin dynasty. Xiaoping'an was familiar with Wu Ji's deeds and was no stranger to him. In real history, Wu Ji died of illness at the age of 47 because of the hard work of pummeling horses. I don't know if I can change the history of the southern Song dynasty if I let Wu Ji live to be 80 or 90 years old. It would be considered a breakthrough fusion. Xiaoping'an took a look at the boundary bead, smiled slightly, and forced out a drop of blood from his finger. In the blink of an eye, the whole person was wrapped in the light cocoon of the world pearl. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 689. In the secret room, after Xiaopingyan began to fuse Wuji's boundary beads, more than 40 minutes passed in the blink of an eye. 40 minutes later, the light cocoon on Xiaopingyan's body suddenly turned into countless light rains and shattered. Xiaopingyan also opened his eyes, with a wry smile on his face, and shook his head slightly. It's a pity. If only from 1111, Wuji, it would be nice to start joining the army on Jingyuan Road. Xiaopingyan murmured to himself. Even if Xiaopingyan asks himself that he can fuse all the world beads, there is one thing in the world beads that Xiaopingyan cannot control, and that is the time when the characters in the world beads begin. When Wuji's world beads started, it was already the second year of Jianyan. The Jinbing West Route army left Daking Pass, invaded Shaanxi, and went straight to Jingyuan Road. As soon as Xiaopingyan opened his eyes, he was already in the army. Under the orders of Chu Duan, the commander of the Economic Strategy Department, he led the front army to attack the Jin soldiers. To be honest, Xiaopingyan was a little disappointed with this start, because he knew that Wuji joined the army in 1111, the famous bachelor year in history. Wuji became famous for his wars with the Song dynasty and Xixia, because Wuji had meritorious service in fighting against Xixia. Later, he participated in the suppression of Fangla and other peasant uprising armies and made meritorious service, so he gradually came to the stage of history. In 1111, Wuji was just 18 years old. At this time, there were still 16 years before the Jinkong disgrace in 1127. In these 16 years, Xiaopingyan wanted to see if he could turn things around and avoid the Jinkong disgrace. Unfortunately, as soon as he appeared in Jizu, it was already the second year of Jianyan. The northern Song dynasty, which had experienced the Red Horse and Red Sheep tribulation, was over. Now it is the second year of the southern Song Emperor Song Jiaozong's accession to the throne. What is placed in front of Xiaopingyan is the army of Jin soldiers pressed on the border. Starting from the Battle of Kingzi Ridge in 1128, Xiaopingyan only fought in Jizu for 7 years. During these 7 years, Xiaopingyan had been in the army and was almost inseparable. After the Battle of Kingzi Ridge, he conquered Huazhu, and then after beheading Shi Bin, the remaining tribe of Zhangjiang in Song dynasty, in 1130, Xiaopingyan reversed history in Penjai Yuandian and defeated Jin generals Wanyan Lushi and Wanyan Silahi, and finally let the Song army and Jin army fight in the Battle of Fuping. A draw was achieved, thus avoiding the fate of the Song army in the Battle of Fuping, where all 5 sides fell and Bashu was shaken. In the following years, Xiaopingyan experienced the Battle of Monkyuan in Jizu. With thousands of cavalry, he defeated the 100,000 gold army led by Wanyan Zongbai, creating a miracle in the history of war. That is to say, during the fierce battle against Monk Shangyuan, Xiaopingyan created the Dai formation in the army. The Dai formation was created by Wuji. The so-called Dai formation is the ancestor of the 3-stage attack and the 5-stage attack of the musketeers in later generations. The so-called 3-stage shooting of Western musketeers was actually what the Chinese generals were playing with. The formations were made up of the crossbowmen in the army at that time. Xiaopingyan asked the crossbowmen in the army to shoot in stages, so that the arrow clusters are continuous, shot one after another, layer upon layer, hence the name array. The item formation shined brilliantly during the Battle of Monkyuan, inflicting a heavy blow to the Jin army and making the Jin army's countenance change. In the Battle of Monkyuan, Xiaopingyan killed Wanyan Zongbai in Monkyuan and made history again. After the war, Xiaopingyan had already reached Lizhu Road and established envoys in the 3 prefectures of Ji, Cheng, and Feng. At Xianren Pass, Rao Fengguan defeated the Jin army again, and killed the Jin general Wanyan Silahi. His reputation was so great that he became famous in Longshu. He was appointed by Emperor Jiaozong as the inspector of the school, the governor of the national army, and the governor of Sichuan and Shaanxi. The pillar of the country. Until the 5th year of Shaoxing, that is, 1135, When Xiaoping'an was preparing to capture Zizhu and then use Longchuan in central Sichuan as a base to carry out drastic changes, Jizhu completed the integration and was shattered. Xiaoping'an stayed in Jizuzhong for 7 years and fought successively, recreating the most glorious chapter of Wu Ji's life. Although Xiaoping'an changed some history on the battlefield and locally, because the time was too short, many things were being planned and had not yet been laid out. Seeing the results, the transformation of the country has just begun, and the integration of the Jizhu has been completed. This is Xiaoping'an's biggest regret. When he merged with Wu Ji, the World Pearl, he was unable to avoid the shame of Jingkong, and at the same time he failed to complete the transformation of the country and society, and did not destroy the Jin kingdom. It felt like nothing was completed. Everything in the World Pearl just let it go. The real history is embarrassing. People in later generations thought that Wu Ji died because of lust. They were basically slanderous words. The slanderous words generally came from two places, one of which was Jiaozong calendar and real records, but in history, when Qin Hui supervised the compilation of national history, the Jiaozong calendar and real records compiled by his adopted son Qin XI not only did not record anything unfavorable to Qin Hui, but also slandered the main war figures. Among them were Yu Fei and Wu Ji, who were the most corrupted by Qin Hui's party. Yu Fei was able to be rehabilitated because of the efforts of several generations of Yulin and Uk who wrote books to defend his grievances and restored his reputation. When the history of the Song dynasty was rewritten, he became much more stalwart. However, Wu Ji was exterminated and had no one redressed his grievance. As for the second source, it is the history of the Song dynasty later compiled by Tuo Tuo. The history of the Song dynasty also depicts Wu Ji as a lecherous person, which is even more nonsense. Except for the history of the Song dynasty, all other the records that record Wu Ji all speak highly of him, but there is no word about his lust, including Su mentions Sanjin Biming Huibian, Li Xingquan's summary of the years since Jianyan and Li Youwu's records of the words and deeds of famous officials of the Song dynasty and so on. Many historical materials passed down to later generations, even the so-called official history, everything recorded is simply the flattery of his party, and it is not enough to be passed down to future generations. And there is a historical law that will still be applicable to future generations for thousands of years, and it can distinguish between good and evil. Those who are slandered and feared by the enemy are the real heroes and heroes, and those who are praised and liked by the enemy are basically traitors and traitors. After fusing this world bead, Xiaoping'an's upper limit of divine power in the secret mandala increased by 90 points and officially broke through the 10,000 point mark, reaching 10,071 points, which is far from the 10,920 points required for the 8 Yang realm. The upper limit of divine power is only 849 points short. At the same time, in the Mandala temple, there is also a majestic bronze relief of Wu Ji wearing armor and standing on the top of the mountain with a sword. At the same time, the characters' die and formation in the Golden Mountain have been ignited. As Xiaoping'an merged more and more boundary beads, more and more words were ignited in the mountain of golden words. Xiaoping'an had not used the ability of the Divine Inscription Master for a long time, but his ability as a Divine Inscription Master had always been there. Progress by leaps and bounds. Wu Ji can already be summoned. This is the first warrior that Xiaoping'an can summon. This world bead can be regarded as changing part of history, so the divine power reward is quite generous. I wonder how much divine power I will get if I can change the history of Jingkang's shame, Xiaoping'an said to himself, and directly invested in it. With 100 points of divine power, Wu Ji was summoned. Wu Ji walked out of the glorious relief, saluted the sages in the Mandala temple, then left the temple, went to the military camp, and began to train the archers and let the archers practice formations. Xiaoping'an, who was sitting cross-legged in the secret room, sighed secretly in his heart, then took out the box that Shulongzi gave him, and then opened the box. There were 2 world beads and 2 corresponding divine thoughts in the box. Crystal. While finding the boundary pearl, I was also worried that Xiaoping'an wouldn't be able to fuse with it, so I also found the corresponding spiritual sense crystal. It's needless to say that this was a deep intention. Looking at the two world beads and the two spiritual crystals, Xu Longzi's beautiful face and smart eyes appeared in Xiaoping'an's mind. This silly girl. Xiaoping'an smiled, sighed softly, then picked up a boundary bead in the box and put it on his hand. There was a faint fragrance coming from the boundary bead, and the fragrance was also, with a trace of Xulong 11's aura. This world bead should have been prepared by Xulong 11 himself. Maybe when that silly girl was preparing this world bead, she unknowingly held it and rubbed it in a daze, so she left her own fragrance on the world bead. There are 5 small words in this world bead: 2 peaches kill 3 soldiers. A moment later, Xiaoping'an was once again wrapped in the light cocoon wrapped in the world bead. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 690. Golden Summoner. Xiangyan, Your Majesty is hosting a banquet in the palace today to welcome the return of the Prime Minister's envoy Chu. As soon as Xiaoping'an opened his eyes, he saw a eunuch leading the way beside him, talking to himself as he walked. The two of them were walking in the corridor, surrounded by palace guards. Ahead, a palace had appeared in front of him. Become Yanzi again. Xiaoping'an was already very familiar with Qi's palace. He knew that the person waiting for him in the palace at this moment was Qi Jinggong. Who is coming to the banquet today? Xiaoping'an asked as he walked. Xiangyan, those who came to the banquet today are all the important officials of the court invited by the king. All the dignitaries from Linzi are already there. De Sixing, De Sishan, De Sima, De Salai, and De Jianguan are all here. There are also 3 close associates of His Majesty, Gong Sunji, Tian Kaijiang, and Gaizi. Oh, I understand. Xiaoping'an responded calmly. Is it really because these 3 people who Er Tao killed and San Shi killed because they slighted Yan Zi that Yan Zi became murderous? If Qi Jinggong hadn't acquiesced in wanting to get rid of these 3 people, how could Qi Jinggong have lost his mind and wanted to kill these 3 people based on Yan Zi's few words? Qi Jinggong seemed harmless, but since he succeeded to the throne, he killed Kui Shu, then Qing Feng, and now he killed Gong Sunji, Tian Kaijiang, and Gaizi. With this step-by-step killing, Qi states the power was slowly and completely concentrated in the hands of Qi Jinggong. It is impossible to say that everything is a coincidence. Behind Gong Sunji, Tian Kaijiang, and Gaizi are all deep-rooted big families and groups of scholar bureaucrats in Qi state. Let's not talk about anything else. Let's just say that Tian Kaijiang is from the Tian family. This is Qi Jinggong's powerful family in Qi state. Despite the suppression by the family and scholar bureaucrat forces, later, after Qi Jinggong, the Tian family still usurped Qi state. It can only be said that these stubborn families and scholar bureaucrat forces in Qi state pose a threat to the Zhang family's regime. There were already signs, and Qi Jinggong had already seen the signs, so he used Yanzi's strategy to get rid of Gong Sunji, Tian Kaijiang, and Gaizi. Those who can enter and exit the most prosperous palace in the world are foxes with thousands of years of age. Xiaoping'an looked at the tall palace beside him and muttered secretly in his heart. As Xiaoping'an walked to the door of the palace, a chamberlain standing at the door of the palace shouted at the top of his voice, "Xiangyan is here." In that voice, Xiaoping'an crossed the threshold of the palace and entered the palace. Sure enough, many people had gathered in the hall. Qi Jinggong's seat was still empty. Qi Jinggong hadn't arrived yet. On both sides of the hall, there were tables and cases. The dignitaries of Qi state who were attending the banquet were sitting behind the tables. Yanzi was not late, so the food had not been served in the palace, and everyone who came to the banquet was just chatting quietly. Yanzi was the prime minister at the moment. He had just made a meritorious mission to the state of Chu. When he saw Xiaoping'an walking in, those who had come to the banquet and were sitting behind the tables all stood up quickly, not daring to show off, and ask Xiaopinggan one after another. During the ceremony, almost no one sat down. I met Yan Xiang. Prime Minister Yan was sent as an envoy to Chu state, and his hard work has made great achievements. What Xiaopinggan saw were smiling faces and greetings, and everyone's attitude was very respectful to him. Xiaopinggan also walked quickly and nodded in response. Almost everyone stood up except 3 people. They were 3 big men who looked strong and powerful at first glance. They were sitting in the middle of the hall. When Xiaopinggan passed by them, they were still sitting behind the table, talking and laughing with each other, and just glanced at Xiaopinggan. Didn't even have the intention to stand up. Xiaopinggan calmly walked past the 3 of them, then came to sit down in front of the table and waited for Qi Jinggong to arrive. After a while, with the sound of "the king has arrived," everyone in the hall stood up. Qi Jinggong came to the throne of the hall with a smile on his face and a leisurely pace. "I have met the king," everyone in the hall saluted Qi Jinggong. "My dear friends, please excuse me. Today's banquet is for Prime Minister Yan. Prime Minister Yan is on an envoy to the Chu state and has made great contributions. I suggest that you all offer a glass of wine to Prime Minister Yan." Qi Jinggong looked at Xiaopinggan and said, followed by Qi Jinggong raised his glass, everyone in the hall raised their glasses together, and the banquet officially began. Needless to say, the process of the banquet was not only delicious food and wine, but also a performance by the palace musicians and Mako, which was lively and luxurious. After the dinner, everyone left, and Qi Jinggong asked his attendants to call Xiaopinggan to the study at the back of the hall to talk and ask about the process of his mission to Chu. Xiaopinggan told the story of his mission to Chu state, and then changed the subject. "Does the king know that when I entered the palace today, everyone stood up to greet me, but only 3 people sat behind the case, sitting still?" Qi Jinggong looked at Xiaopinggan and raised his brows. "Is Xiangyan talking about Gongsunji, Tiankaijiang, and Gaizi?" Xiaopinggan nodded and sighed, "I am now the Prime Minister of Qi. I am already ranked above all the officials and officials. I represent the state of Qi and the king as envoy to Chu. All the officials and ministers present salute me in awe. In fact, it is the majesty and order of your majesty and the state of Qi. However, Gongsunji, Tiankaijiang, and Gaizi were rude to me today. You can imagine how arrogant these 3 people are in their hearts. This is how these 3 people are now, and these 3 people will be like this in the future. If you have great power and are united as one, wouldn't your majesty be afraid that the 3 of them will do to you what they did to me?" As soon as he heard Xiaopinggan's words, Qi Jinggong's face suddenly darkened, and his expression was no longer good. Xiaopinggan continued, "I heard that a wise king cultivates brave men. He must be upright when dealing with his superiors, and he must have moral integrity when dealing with his subordinates. He can prohibit riots internally and deter the enemy externally. The country will be prosperous because of their merits. They made a profit, and the subjects admired them because of their courage, so the country improved their status and increased their salaries. But the 3 people your majesty now raises do not have the righteousness of monarchs and ministers when they are above, and they do not respect the ethics of elders and children below. Riots are prohibited and the enemy cannot be deterred externally. If your majesty continues to let these 3 people go, they may endanger the country in the future, so it is better to get rid of them as soon as possible." A look of embarrassment appeared on Qi Jinggong's face. "These 3 people are all extremely brave. It will not be easy to capture them. Sending assassins probably won't work either. I wonder what Prime Minister Yan has to do." Looking at the actions of these 3 people today, you know that although these 3 people are brave and think of themselves as soldiers, they do not respect the etiquette of elders and young ones. To kill them, you only need 2 peaches. 2 peaches? Qi Jinggong looked at Xiaopinggan in surprise. "Yes, 2 peaches. Your majesty will invite the 3 of them to the palace tomorrow and reward the 3 of them with 2 peaches." Just let the three of them eat these 2 peaches according to their merit. Qi Jinggong was dubious, but still nodded. The next day, Duke Jinggong of Qi invited the 3 people to the palace as Yan Zi said. After watching the 3 people practice martial arts and swordsmanship in the garden, he had 2 bright red peaches brought to them. Xiaopinggan was also with Qi Jinggong at this time, looking at the 3 of them. My 3 dear friends have been with me for many years, and they have all worked hard and made great achievements. Today I sent you some tribute peaches, which are sweet and delicious. I also have 2 peaches here. The 3 dear ladies can divide them. How do you think the peaches should be divided among them? The 3 of them looked at each other, and Gongsun-ji laughed loudly. He walked out without hesitation and said proudly, "Your Majesty is assessing our merit. If we don't accept the peach, it means we are not brave enough. However, there are 3 of us, but there are only 2 peaches. There are more people than peaches. In this way, the only way to eat peaches is according to the merit. Let me start by saying that I, Gongsun-ji, hunted with your Majesty. I once killed wild beasts and tigers with my bare hands. Gongsun-ji did this. His merits and bravery can eat a peach alone." After Gongsun finished speaking, he came over, took a peach directly from the maid's plate, and finished the peach in 2 bites. Tian Kaijiang then stood up and said in a rough voice, "Once on the battlefield, I fought bravely, making the enemy intimidated, and defeated the enemy's attacks several times. I, Tian Kaijiang, can also take credit for my achievements alone." A peach. After Tian Kaijiang finished speaking, he picked up a peach and ate it directly. Finally, Gaizi, who looked sincere and resolute, took a step forward, glanced at the 2 peach eaters in front of him, and asked loudly and unconvinced, "What do you think of your heroic achievements? Can your achievements and bravery compare to mine, Gongsun? Then, you just fought wild beasts and tigers when hunting for His Majesty. Did you know that I once crossed the Yellow River with your Majesty? The giant turtle in the Yellow River bit the horse pulling the cart on His Majesty's left and dived into the rapids of the reef, making your Majesty very scared. I was shocked. At that time, I was still young and could not swim, so I dived into the water and walked with a sharp knife and a stone in my arms. I walked 100 steps against the current, and then traveled 9 miles with the current to catch the big turtle for your Majesty and kill it. Then I holding the horse's tail in his left hand and holding the big turtle's head in his right hand, he jumped out of the water like a white crane. When the boatman at the ferry saw it, he thought it was a river god flying out of the water." Tian Kaijiang, can you make people think you are a river god? Gongsun-ji and Tian Kaijiang, who had taken the peach before, looked at each other, each feeling ashamed. Gongsun-ji said loudly, "Our bravery is not as good as yours, and our merits are not as good as yours, but we picked up the peach before you and showed no humility. This is greed. I shouldn't eat that peach. How could I eat it? Take it out and I'll give it back to you." After Gongsun finished speaking, he gritted his teeth, pulled out the long sword from his body, inserted the sword into his stomach with a backhand move, pulled it hard, cut open his stomach, tore out his intestines, and then threw himself to the ground. Tian Kaijiang also sighed, "I'm really not qualified to eat that peach, and it's useless to keep my head." After saying that, he drew his sword and killed himself. He cut his own throat and half of his neck with one sword, and then fell to the ground. Gaizi was a little angry just now, but in the blink of an eye, he saw Gongsun Jihenchi and Kaijiang committing suicide and fell in front of him. Gaizi was also stunned. Gaizi glanced at the expressionless Qi Jinggong, and seemed to understand something, and looked up to the sky with a long sigh. "Both of them are dead, but I, Gaizi, live alone. The 3 of us were once friends. Now that I am alive, this is unkind. It is unkind to use words to humiliate others and flatter myself. This is unjust. I regret my words and deeds. If you don't even have the courage to die, you are not brave. I still have this little courage. When Geysa said this, he looked at the two corpses on the ground and laughed miserably. He murmured to himself, although the two of them died for a peach, in fact, due to my bravery, I should have been able to enjoy a peach to myself. After saying that, Geysa also drew his sword and killed himself. In the blink of an eye, the three warriors of Qi died in front of Xiaopingan and Qi Jinggong. Xiaopingan sighed. If it weren't for the need to fuse the world beads, even among the world beads, he would not want to see Gongsunji, Tiankaijiang, and Geysa die like this. All three of them have soldiers. Their integrity and conduct are precisely because they are scholars, so they can be killed with 2 peaches. If they are scoundrels, let alone 2 peaches, you can't kill any of them with 2 carts of peaches. Sigh, respectable. Your Majesty, please give these 3 people a generous burial, Xiaopingan said to Qi Jinggong. Looking at the 3 people lying on the ground, Qi Jinggong also nodded. The world of Jizu suddenly shattered. In the secret training room, Xiaopingan opened his eyes. The upper limit of divine power has been increased by 15 points, becoming 10,086 points. At the same time, Xiaopingan's secret mandala has an additional spell using peach as a medium. Once this spell is cast, Gongsun-ji can be summoned at the same time. 3 warriors, Tiankaijiang and Geysa. Finally, there was a boundary bead. Xiaopingan took out the boundary bead and saw only 2 small seal characters on it. Looking at this world bead, Xiaopingan's face became more respectful.